Though the COVID-19 crisis has dominated all facets of our daily lives over the past 9 months, our government is still working hard to serve our community, especially tackling one of our chief responsibilities, preparing our budget for county government. The pandemic poses significant challenges and uncertainties to our budget. And while there is a light at the end of the tunnel, to be able to hug our families and return to a sense of normalcy, the fiscal impacts of this crisis are still unknown and may be long-term. Your input is vital as we work together to maintain critical services and provide assistance to our impacted neighbors and residents, businesses and organizations, so that we can all get through this together. Every comment and all of the testimony we receive through our budget hearings is considered and reviewed by our team. Your engagement and input in this process matters. So I thank you all for participating in our budget process tonight and for doing so virtually as we work hard to address the challenges brought by this pandemic. I want to especially thank our DTCS community and team for ensuring that we could have this virtually and safely, but make sure that you all are engaged. And I want to thank my senior staff team and the rest of county government who stands at the ready, listening and willing to engage so that we can move forward. And now, it's my pleasure to turn it over to Safa Hira, who will be announcing the names of those registered to testify this evening. Safa?
Thank you. Good evening. Before we begin hearing from you, we have a few logistical items to go through. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed. If you are unable to testify due to technical issues, we will be taking written testimony to ensure every voice is considered during the budget process. Each person will have up to 3 minutes to testify, and those who represent an organization will have up to 5. You will be called based upon the order of your registration. Also, to help smooth the process this year, we assigned a number for each person who registered. You should have already received your assigned number via email. We hope that this will help you plan ahead for your turn. Everyone is currently muted to avoid background noises. When it is your turn to testify, you will be unmuted and your name will be called so that you have the opportunity to be heard. All testimony will be audio only to minimize broadband issues and to ensure we can hear you clearly. Per tradition, we'll begin our hearing tonight with the youngest among us, our students. First up, we have Alex Murphy, followed by Susan Garber and Dr. Kate Hetherington. Alex, you're up.
No, Alex.
No, Alex. Okay, we're going to move on to Susan Garber, followed by Dr. Kate Hetherington. Susan,
Good
you're up.
evening. Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Okay. Susan Garber speaking on behalf of the Savage Community Association. 2020 has been a cruel year in many ways, but the SCA is proud of our small town's effort to provide support to one another throughout these challenging times, and we're grateful for the things which the county has provided this year. And the truth is that some of those things were not on our budget request list last year because we didn't know COVID would be barreling upon us. But we do appreciate that Savage was added to was added as a meal pickup site for children during the summer, and that a COVID testing site was established at the Savage Fire Department. We were pleased that you were able to provide funding to do another piece of the long-planned Complete Streets project, Washington Street, in the Historic District. We were even more delighted when that budget was stretched further through the skillful hands of Marshall Davidson to include sections of Fair, Commercial, and Foundry Street this fall. We in Savage are not just a thankful and appreciative lot, we're also keenly keenly aware that the county's budget has been as ravaged as has that of many families. So we hope that you are keenly aware that any property tax increase at this time will be crushing to many homeowners. So this year, instead of providing you with our customary Amazon wish list, we've instead created a more shop small, shop local list. But first, we're particularly thankful that we're not here to ask once again for the county to add the Savage Mill remainder parcel to Savage Park. We so thank you for taking action. But we do respectfully ask you to work some holiday magic to get those program open space funds into the hands of the Savage Mill owners by closing on the sale before the end of this month. It'll be fabulous to look back on 2020 and be able to say, yes, it was a horrible year, but it was the year we finally assured the preservation of this environmentally sensitive property. It'll be the greatest gift to Savage residents and to the rest of the county who come for respite in the nature. Now, we've provided the full list for your consideration, but let's turn to some of the highlights offering a good return on investment in what we're calling our what we're looking for in our FY22 Shop Small, Shop Local list. From the Department of Recreation and Park Shop, admittedly our favorites because they provide so much which contributes to our quality of life, we're looking for things like cooperation in grant writing and working jointly with community volunteers to begin shaping the Savage Mill remainder parcel. I promised we wouldn't come and ask for money once the property was built for some time, so I hope you'll feel happy to know that we're not looking for conventional expensive park benches, but rather some created with chainsaws out of fallen trees and similarly fallen tree slices arranged for seating. We would like to find repair and improvements to the Savage Mill Trail on the south side of the Little Tucson. It's already been assessed and deficiencies noted, but funding for these repairs is needed. We'd like to find acknowledgement of the Savage Guilford Industrial Historic District by whatever name is ultimately chosen, with interpretive signage identifying key sites and progress forward on applications for historic recognition. Once again, the community asked me to be looking for land for a Savage North Laurel community garden. From the Department of Public Works Shop, another favorite, we have a list of items there for you. But I want to move ahead to the final shop, the Administration and DPZ shop. Finally, but most importantly, based on how you have gotten to personally know Savage and its welcoming, diverse population, we are looking for your support to help maintain Savage's uniquely small-town character throughout the development of the next general plan. With little or no cost involved, this would be priceless. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much also.
We're going to go back to our student. We're going to call up Alex Murphy. Alex, you're on.
Dr. Ball, my name is Alex Murphy and I am in 5th grade. I have dyslexia. I have a hard time with spelling, reading, and writing. When I was in public school, I felt frustrated. There was one book that I couldn't read, so I would just look at the pictures during reading time. It took me twice as long to take the standardized test. Took 2 days. My parents now have me in a private school for kids with dyslexia. My skills teacher teaches me how to decode words and sound them out. I can read a lot better. I can read harder words. Now my spelling is better. I am asking you to please make sure that teachers in our county public school have the training to teach kids to read. The way I am learning will help kids learn to read, not just kids with dyslexia. Please consider adding money in your budget to help teachers get even more training in OG so this can help kids learn to read. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Alex. Great testimony, and thank you for your courage and your engagement in this process.
Next up, we have Dr. Kate Hetherington, followed by Jack Garneri. Dr. Hetherington, you're up.
Good evening, County Executive Ball, Mr. Robbins, and Dr. Sun. I am Kate Hetherington, president of Howard Community College and a resident of Columbia. At Howard Community College, our mission is providing pathways to success. During a global pandemic, achieving this mission is not only critical, it's a business imperative. Our county residents need us. When we opened our doors on October 12, 1970, the college had just 594 students. Today, 50 years later, we serve over 26,000 credit and non-credit students annually. With your financial support, Howard Community College will continue to attract and retain a diverse and talented community of learners today and for generations to come. We hope we see Alex at HCC one day in the future. Your funding will reduce the tuition burden on students and keep this institution as one of the best community colleges in Maryland and in this nation. For fiscal year 2022, we request your continued investment in innovative facilities designed to enrich the lives of students and the community. HCC started in 1970 with only one building that housed everything. And as the college has grown, so too has student demand. We now have 14 buildings to provide a holistic experience, from specialized learning spaces to enriching student life areas. Thanks to your support, and we do really appreciate all that you've done, we have been pre-authorized for construction of a mathematics and athletics complex. A groundbreaking ceremony will be held this summer, and we hope it's in person and not virtually. For fiscal year 2022, we are seeking $15,844,000 to continue the construction funding. The Mathematics and Athletics Complex fuses academics with athletics in a creative approach to serving students in our community. It will be a central hub for student learning and engagement while helping to meet workforce demands. The college is also seeking $2 million from the county for systemic renovations. Systemic renovations will support much needed funding for phased deferred maintenance to repair or replace critical infrastructure, as well as facilities improvements and upgrades. On behalf of the faculty, staff, and students, thank you. And I look forward to continue to work together as the budget season continues. As I close my remarks, I ask you to remember that HCC has been there for its community for 50 years. 50 years of educating young people and adults who dream of a better life, and 50 years of preparing students for the workforce of today and the future. Thank you so much for all that you've done for Howard Community College.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hetherington. Really appreciate your partnership and your work, and also congratulations on 50 years and your leadership. I know this has been a challenging time, but not only as county executive and as a neighbor, but also as a parent of an HCC student, you and your team are doing a fantastic job. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ball.
Next, we have Jack Garneri, followed by Pearl Atkinson Stewart. Jack, you're up.
All right. This is Jack Garneri. I'm president of the Bicycling Advocates of Howard County, BICOCO, a nonprofit that's been advocating for improved bike accessibility and safety in Howard County since 2008. We've been consistent, persistent, and patient in achieving our long-term goals. I also want to emphasize our full support for what Horizon Foundation and our other partners in the Streets for All Coalition are seeking, which is full funding for bicycle and pedestrian projects in the fiscal year 22 budget. We long-term cyclists have noticed a significant increase in bicycles on our roads since the pandemic began for exercise, recreation, transportation, and sanity preservation. This provides empirical evidence of what we've been saying for years, that less traffic, safer environment will encourage people who want to ride bikes to ride bikes. As bicycling advocates, we strongly support fully funding K5066 at $1.5 million to continue completion of bike-powered express near-term implementation plans. As I've indicated earlier, we've been patient. And to provide some context, bike-powered master plan started in 2012, but wasn't approved till 2016. Complete Streets resolution was signed in 2016, but the policy was not approved until you took office in 2019. A revised Complete Streets design manual and development regulations are underway, but won't be completed until 2021 and probably not approved till 2022. There was practically no funding for actual implementation of Bike Howard until you adopted the Bike Howard Express 5-year plan for near-term projects and began providing funding, real funding in the fiscal year 20 budget. We're now partway through our plan to add 50 miles of bicycle facilities to county roads, are in the most critical portion of Bike Howard Express, the actual construction of significant links in the project. And that's where county funding and state grants will help us make some real progress. We should not delay this first phase of a 20-year plus long-term plan. And finally, I want to provide support for additional funding for DPW and highways. Many bike lane projects that involve connecting bicycle route segments have been delayed because of link shortfalls in paving projects, since roads are typically realigned and repainted after being repaved. In addition, most recreational cyclists tend to ride in western Howard County, Glen Elk, Glenwood, Lisbon, West Friendship. And for the past 2 years, roads in this part of the county have not been repaved, but rather chip and seal patched by county crews to extend their lifespan and try to save some money. This is probably adequate for automobile users, but for cyclists, the rougher roads and collapsing shoulders create a more dangerous environment. We support additional funding for paving projects throughout the county, and we also realize that planning for and implementing infrastructure upgrades and complete streets requires additional staffing and internal systems in county government, and we fully support the funding to do so. Thank you, and thank you for all your support so far, Dr. Ball.
Thank you so much, Jack. Always appreciate your advocacy.
Next up, we have Pearl Atkinson Stewart, followed by Felicita Sola Carter.
Good evening. I am here
Good
on
evening.
behalf of the Advocacy Committee for the new East Columbia 50 Plus Center in Columbia, a group representing over 200 seniors from all of Howard County. And we urge you to support funding to build this shovel-ready project. Although fully supported by you, County Executive Ball in June, the Howard County Council slashed the full funding amount. And because we cannot take this action until the project is definitely fully funded. So we are requesting full funding be restored. Seniors in Howard County comprise 35% of the total county population, and projections point to rapid growth. East Columbia has a dense population of seniors, particularly a hotspot for seniors. And because of the small size of our facility presently, there is a shortage of programs and services at this location. All other parts of the county have expansive and amenity-filled facilities, while the East Columbia Center is essentially one large and two exceedingly small rooms. A new center would finally address this serious inequity. We want to emphasize that the proposed facility will also house the Connection program, which will also serve memory-challenged seniors. This segment of our population and their caregivers in East Columbia are grossly underserved. There are no conveniently separate day programs or support groups here. Seniors must endure long bus rides, or their caregivers must drive their loved ones far for these crucial services that are offered elsewhere in Howard County. Our lobbying efforts to build a standalone 50-plus center spans over the past 6 years. But I have personally been advocating since 2014 for this facility. Sadly, some seniors have died while waiting for a new center to be built. I hope that doesn't happen to me. Thank you for funding the completion of this project, and I want to say a real big thank you to County Executive Ball for his support in this effort, and I hope that we will be able to receive the full funding. Thank you.
Thank you again, Pearl, and we're going to keep pushing. I agree this is a critical project, and hopefully we can get a majority of the council to support us this year.
Next up, we have Felicita Sola Carter, followed by Paula Rojas.
Okay. Good evening.
You're up.
Oh, am I up? Okay. Good evening, Howard County Executive Ball, Mr. Robbins, and Dr. Sons. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight in support of Howard Community College. I'm Felicita Sola Carter, a resident of Ellicott City and chair of the Board of Trustees of the college. And this evening, I'm speaking on behalf of the board. As the college's 50 years have shown us, Howard Community College must always be willing to adapt to what is happening in our county, but I know that no one would have imagined what we are experiencing with the current pandemic, both working and teaching, delivering services to our community. We remain on the forefront of innovative solutions for the county's workforce needs, whether serving individuals or solutions for the county's workforce and businesses. As an example, this fall, we continue to innovate in the following ways. In response to industry demand, we launched 2 brand new apprenticeship programs, one in software development and another in electrical. Jumpstart, our dual enrollment program with the public schools, grew this fall by more than 190% to nearly 1,800 students. While some of the increase is attributed to the current environment and the HCPSS shift in scheduling, it is truly remarkable that we are making college accessible to so many. Also, now for 12 consecutive years, HCC has been named a great college to work for. It is the only community college in the country to win this award every year possible. It is our employees who make HCC such a special place for students and the community. By supporting our request for fiscal year 2022, you will ensure that HCC maintains its operations at the highest possible levels, and most importantly, you will support our very deserving budgeted employees with merit increases and our adjunct faculty with a pay rate increase. HCC does not give step or cost of living increases, only merit increases. Due to state cuts and budget challenges related to the coronavirus, the college was not able to give any increases in fiscal 2021. For fiscal 2022, we need your support to continue our vital work of providing pathways to success, which is needed more than ever before. And on behalf of our trustees, faculty, staff, and students, thank you. And I hope you will continue to invest in Howard Community College. And thank you for all that you have done today, because I know that you and your students have been extraordinarily supportive of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Feli.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Paula Rojas, followed by Jennifer White. Paula, you're up.
Good evening, County Executive Ball. I am Paula Rojas, a resident of Laurel in my first year at Howard Community College. I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee, and after 20 years in the Air Force, I retired here in Maryland. I'm married to a Montgomery County firefighter who is also an HCC alum, and we have a 3-year-old daughter. I am a 100% disabled veteran, and because of my disability rating, I cannot use the skills that I gained in the military and the workforce. So through the VA's Veteran and Readiness Employment Program, I am back in school to earn a degree in a new trade. Knowing my disabilities, I had to do research on a field that would not aggravate my disabilities. Originally, I wanted to be a nurse because of the combat lifesaver training I received and unfortunately used in Iraq on convoys. But nursing, unfortunately, was out because of my disabilities. I knew I wanted to stay medical, so I decided to call Howard Community College home for its invasive cardiovascular technology program. It was obvious HCC is where I needed to be. From the time I stepped on campus, I felt included. I was not just another number, but an actual person. Staff on the Allied Health Advising Team ensured that I was headed in the right direction, and as you can imagine, transitioning from the military to an academic arena can be quite a learning curve. The Veterans Affairs Office has been extremely supportive and does everything they can do for active duty veteran, and military dependent students. I have troops all over the world, and none of them have received the support I have from the campus and the Veteran Affairs Office like I have during this COVID transitions. All of the services offered at HCC is what has made me successful in my academic goals. I'm in a program called Step Up, where I'm assigned a professor that is there to help me navigate my journey. My professor has done a phenomenal job in helping me stay on track and ensuring I meet my timelines. All of this to say is I love HCC. My husband and I are both proud to be called Dragons, and we want to thank you for your time and your ongoing support of HCC.
Thank you, and keep moving forward. We appreciate your service.
Next up, we have Jennifer White, followed by Jonathan Edelson. Jennifer, you're up.
Good evening, County Executive Ball and members of this virtual dais. My name is Jennifer White, Senior Community Engagement Officer at the Horizon Foundation. As you know, the Horizon Foundation is Howard County's community health foundation and the largest independent health philanthropy in the state of Maryland. We lead community change so everyone in Howard County can live a long and better life. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought many challenges and changes to our lives as individuals and as a community. These challenges also comes with an opportunity to support and invest in our public health. Our recovery from the COVID crisis is inextricably linked to public health investments now in order to create a healthier future for Howard County. First, we are pleased to see the progress of complete streets implementation and bike and pedestrian capital projects. We are appreciative of your vision for biking and walking and the record funding that you proposed in the FY21 capital budget. We encourage Howard County to continue this momentum. Additionally, we are delighted to see the announcement of improving the Oakland Mills-Guilford Road intersection, installation of new and better sidewalks, and a bus stop and shelter. We must maintain this progress. To that end, we support the $2.8 million requested by the Howard County Office of Transportation for Biking and Walking Infrastructure Project. Supporting this request, paired with the existing funding in these capital projects, will prioritize the completion of projects in Guilford, Elkridge, Savage, Jessup, parts of Columbia, and in other areas with significant needs, where residents may struggle to get around safely and easily, or where opportunities for physical activity are limited. We must ensure that our streets, sidewalks, paths, and crosswalks are safe and accessible for everyone. Secondly, lack of access of mental health services has prevented many students and their families from finding the support they need. At a time when COVID-19 has brought significant disruptions and changes to our children's lives, we must ensure every Howard County student has the opportunity to access mental health services if they need them, especially as we prepare for in-person instruction to resume. Now is the time to expand the HCPSS school-based mental health program from 35 county schools to every school. We must ensure our students have the ability to thrive inside and outside of the classroom and have the ability to access support when they need it. And lastly, we need to adequately fund the Howard County Health Department to ensure they have what they need to combat the COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. As the COVID crisis continues to escalate, we must fund Howard County Health Department to hire and retain staff and purchase supplies needed for vaccine efforts. Investing in our infrastructure is critical to our success to combat COVID-19 and address the persistent health disparities in our community. Now is not the time to cut funding for public health. We understand that identifying current budget line items to support these investments may be limited. Perhaps this is the time to explore new revenue streams, and we look forward to having these conversations with your administration. It is important to make these investments both now and in the future. We urge you to make these necessary investments in our public health to help our residents live healthier lives. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Jonathan Edelson, followed by Aaron Parker. For those of you who are keeping note of numbers, we are on number 8. Jonathan, you're up.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to present budget testimony, as always. My name is Jonathan Edelson. I'm the chairman of Oakland Mills Community Association, and I'm speaking on its behalf tonight. Before I begin, on behalf of the Oakland Mills Board and community, I'd like to acknowledge the community-focused and transparent manner in which you, Dr. Ball, and your staff have handled the hard work of this pandemic and communication throughout COVID-19. Living in a county that places our residents' needs first is truly a comfort. I'd like to move on to education and start with another thank you, and that is for Talbot Springs Elementary School. The rebuild of Talbot Springs Elementary School has been a journey which will culminate in a new building for Talbot Springs students, staff, and administrators, and really for our whole community. It's exciting to see construction progress on the new school, and we can't wait to fill the halls with young students who will be provided the amazing opportunity to engage in learning in a safe, new, state-of-the-art school environment. Thank you for your support of this effort. While we're on the subject of schools, I would like to call your attention to the very large amount of deferred maintenance the Howard County Public School System faces. The school system has deferred maintenance projects that are long deferred, overdue, and are even falling off the charts as hundreds of millions of dollars of necessary health and safety maintenance projects are being neglected and deferred. Talbot Springs was neglected so long that it became more cost-effective to demolish it than renovate and expand it. We have the same concerns about Oakland Mills High and Oakland Mills Middle School. Oakland Mills High has nearly $111 million in deferred maintenance costs right now, which is the highest of all buildings in the system. This number equates to health and safety repairs, including replacing the entire HVAC system that the school system concluded could no longer support, in their words, an environment conducive to learning. Currently, Oakland Mills High is not even in the Howard County Public School System 10-year capital improvement plan. The community is very concerned about this. All school buildings should provide a safe and healthy learning environment. The combination of deferred maintenance in Oakland Mills High School and Oakland Mills Middle School equal 20% of the overall deferred maintenance cost for all Howard County Public System school buildings. We have attached an addenda to our written testimony where you can see the breakout of these deferred expenses as well as the assessment of these facilities. I'd also like to remind you that these schools serve a very diverse population of students, including much higher than average proportions of minority and lower income students, who, like all other students in the county, deserve a safe and healthy school environment. For many students, this school is their safe place, but sadly the infrastructure can no longer provide a safe environment consistently. This is a serious issue that needs serious attention and commitment of future collaboration between the county and the school system to ensure certain schools are not forgotten. We ask that you continue to work with the school system, our state delegates, and others to ensure that all schools meet the same health and safety standards and provide modern amenities to students regardless of their backgrounds. With that said, in the short term, we also want to ensure that the school system receives funding adequate to ensure that if there's a return to hybrid learning this year before everyone is vaccinated for COVID, all schools can be assured of safe air quality. Each building is unique. Buildings, as you know, have different systems, are in different condition due to deferred maintenance, and we want to ensure they have the funding to remediate any ventilation or other concerns before students return to the classroom. Other items on our list, which you'll see in more detail in our written testimony, is we continue to advocate for safe streets in Oakland Mills and throughout the county, and we continue to advocate for the continuation of the streetscape on Stevens Forest Road near the Village Center from Whiteacre up to the intersection of Camelback and Santiago, as well as safety along that stretch of road. We continue to advocate for funding for a tree removal and replacement program as we lose more of our tree canopy due to disease and age. We believe a proactive tree planting program will enable us to have more mature trees as we lose the older trees rather than replacing after trees are cut down. In transportation, we participate funding for the Complete Streets Initiative and advocate for additional curb cuts to ensure that bikers and others on wheels can transition easily from streets to sidewalks. We also encourage the county to continue looking at whether it's feasible to offer leaf vacuuming services in lieu of and potentially offsetting the cost of the repairs to street sweepers that often get clogged with leaves, and also the residential leaf pickup where bags are loaded into trucks and carted off. We also encourage the county to work with CA and perhaps private partners on expanding the ice rink. The county only has one sheet of ice, and we are surrounded by counties with much more modern and larger facilities. Finally, we encourage that you look into expanding the reach of Blandair Park to our village center by providing advertising and other messaging indicating to those attending events at Blandair Park that there are local businesses operating in our village center nearby. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate all your advocacy, Jonathan.
Next up, we have Erin Parker, followed by Stephanie Carr. Erin, you're up.
Can you hear me?
We sure can.
My name is Erin Parker. I am testifying to ask you to include significantly more funding to the Howard County Public Schools operating budget for both additional educators to support reading and teacher professional development in structured literacy. Since my son was diagnosed with dyslexia in 2018, I have been testifying before you in support of teacher professional development in Orton-Gillingham, also known as structured literacy or OG. We are all worried about the COVID slide. Dyslexic students are doubly disadvantaged by the virtual learning environment. Without having the ability to read asynchronous assignments, students simply cannot keep up. OG training is our best defense to combat the horrendous impact the pandemic continues to have on our students who are struggling to read. We were advocating for professional development in OG before the pandemic, but now it is even more imperative. Giving educators the best tools available is the quickest way to improve student reading outcomes, not just for our students with dyslexia, but for all of our students. In particular, students learning English as a second language benefit greatly from structured literacy as well. We want to thank the Board of Education and Dr. Martirano for listening to our advocacy and beginning to provide professional development in structured literacy. Thus far, HCPSS has used CARES Act funding to purchase 30 hours of OG training from the Institute for Multisensory Education for 176 special educators and reading specialists at the elementary and middle school levels. We are advocating for both additional positions to support reading and for professional development for those teachers. Our goal is that eventually all teachers, special educators, reading specialists, and classroom teachers, pre-K through 12, are fully trained in structured literacy. Results from a longitudinal study by the Annie Casey Foundation in 2011 found that children who do not read proficiently by 3rd grade are 4 times more likely to leave school without a diploma than proficient readers. For those who could not master even the basic skills by 3rd grade, the rate is nearly 6 times greater. While these struggling readers account for about 1/3 of students, they represent more than 3/5 of those who eventually drop out or fail to graduate on time. Poverty also has a powerful influence on graduation rates. The combined effect of reading poorly and living in poverty puts these children in double jeopardy. Black and Hispanic students who have not mastered reading in the 3rd grade are approximately 12% less likely to graduate from high school than white students with similar reading skills. Statistics show that our children were not learning to read proficiently before COVID-19 hit. We know that the damage from the pandemic will be immeasurable. We thus implore you to invest in our teachers and their professional development in structured literacy. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your testimony.
Next up, we have Stephanie Carr, followed by Mia Hall. Okay, we're going to go on to Mia Hall, followed by Barry Mehta. Mia, you're on.
Hi, good evening. My name is Mai Hall, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Howard County Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee, or CCAC, who advises the school system on the needs of students with disabilities. More importantly, I am the parent of 2 children with disabilities and a special education advocate for our community of over 8,700 students with disabilities in the public school system. According to the Howard County proposed operating budget priority areas, you state the need for, quote, ready and successful students, to prepare our children and support teachers, close the achievement gap, promote college and career readiness, support learners of all ages, end quote. You strive to ensure the best education and equitable outcomes as one of the best places to live, work, and play. Special education is part of that draw to live and attend school in Howard County. According to a press release by Dr. Moderano, special education is a priority of the budget proposal. $15 million investment in special education includes over 200 new staff positions, including teachers, paraeducators, student assistants, and related service providers. HCPSS heard testimony from several special education teachers last school year about the large number of students with disabilities in their classrooms and growing caseload. Schools are simply short-staffed. The population of our students with disabilities grows every year. In fact, it grew by 10% last year. An accurate growing budget to accommodate these increases in numbers must be achieved if our county is to ever, quote, close that achievement gap as your priorities state. Special education has been historically underfunded. The Department of Special Education used reliable data to determine a staffing ratio, and this staffing plan is required by COMAR. This is simply not an aspiration. This is an obligation that our school system must provide. We are just not at a level to fully staff special education, according to current testimony you've just heard, and according to current staffing formulas. You say you want to, quote, prepare our children and support all learners of all ages, end quote. Yet, the data shows a different story for our students with disabilities who are not prepared and not supported. The Howard County 2018 to 2019 report card illustrates math and English language arts achievements in elementary, middle, and high school, with students with disabilities as the lowest amongst diverse populations, lowest amongst English language learners, and even lower than economically disadvantaged groups. The graduation for our students with disabilities stands at 67%. Howard County is not preparing our students with disabilities for contribution to the larger society once they leave our 4 walls. Due to COVID-19, parents have become their child's teacher. Not just any teacher, their special educator, their paraprofessional, their support staff. Parents not only feel the strain, but also lack the note of progress, the lack of progress their child has been making. They have seen their child regress, lose skills. Our students with disabilities are hurting, but parents know they can ask the school team for compensatory services. We anticipate many students will require compensatory services once schools are reopened. This is going to stretch an already tight budget when we need more support staff and teachers, tools and devices, and evaluations. Valuing special education is not just the right thing to do, it's also a long-term cost-saving mechanism. If you look at special education through a return on investment lens, students and taxpayers benefit. We know that every $1 invested into early intervention services, that is special education for birth through age 2, yields a 13.58% return per year over that child's lifetime. An academic return on investment seeks to maximize achievement for the greatest number of students, given available resources. Invest in special education now, reap the benefits of students with disabilities who are skilled, knowledgeable, and ready to contribute to society upon graduation. In conclusion, this is a year to fully fund special education. COVID-19 and all its effects on our students with disabilities have had very debilitating negative consequences, which will result in added needs in our special education population, which means our students will fall further and further behind. We need to support and educate our students with disabilities like Alex, so he and others can stay and benefit from our public school system. Now is the time to fully fund special education, so the public school system can do its due diligence to educate and support our most vulnerable population. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Barry Mehta, followed by Tanya Eikens. Barry. Okay, next up we have Tanya Eikens, followed by Robert Mentz. Tanya, you're up.
Good evening, County Executive Ball, Mr. Robbins, and Dr. Sun. I am Tonya Akins, President and CEO of Howard County Library System and a Howard County resident. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on behalf of Howard County's residents who value the lifelong education provided by our library. Especially in these challenging times, Howard County Library System's role as an educational institution is critical. You will remember that following our closure in March, our innovative team pivoted quickly and effectively to begin working remotely to assist customers, develop online classes, plan opportunities for virtual connection and engagement, bolster our e-content, and order and process new materials. Since March 31, our instructors have taught more than 2,100 classes and led book discussion groups for children, teens, and adults with an average attendance on par when our buildings were open. We have a growing number of fun and interesting on-demand classes on our YouTube channel. Our talented and creative staff film art tutorials, preschool classes with their dogs, explain gardening tips in their own gardens, demonstrate DIY projects in their backyards, and so much more. In October, nearly 400 people gathered to participate in the longest virtual table. In addition, we've begun partnering with other Maryland libraries to present A-list speakers, such as Dr. Ibram X. Kendi, former Secretary of Education John King, and distinguished professor and author Dr. Jennifer Eberhardt. For students, we are not only provide the supports they need to successfully complete schoolwork, but also provide fun and engaging academic experiences. Last year's popular high-tech carnival became a carnival in a bag this fall, providing hands-on STEAM activities for 500 K-12 students. And next year's Battle of the Books will go on. 273 teams have registered for this popular event, which will happen virtually next April. Our customers appreciate how we've shifted to the virtual environment, sending comments such as this one from Timothy. You folks are amazing. You've been creative in fashioning a workaround to COVID and in developing and offering alternative virtual programs. You are not rated one of the best libraries in the country for nothing. Terrific work. Thank you. At the end of June, we began offering contactless pickup of materials, and it was an instant hit. Customers place more than 1,700 requests every day for books, movies, and music, and send positive comments such as this one from Rich. I just wanted to say thank you. These are tough times, and you've managed them well by setting up this efficient and easy pickup system. I know the work you all are putting in on the back end. Please know that the front end appreciates your time. A homeschool parent wrote, "We are so grateful to the HCLS staff for helping our homeschool be successful. I can't imagine not having the books we need to support our kids' learning." Last month, we began offering bundle bags where customers can choose from nearly 30 topics. Customers place nearly 100 requests each day for these bags. Julie wrote, "I love this idea. I really miss browsing inside the library, and this scratches that itch." While our doors are closed, we continue to set the pace for the rest of Maryland. We are the only 5-star library system in the state, have the highest per capita borrowing in the state, and we are open for contactless pickup, an average of 16.5 more hours per week than other Maryland public libraries. In addition, our research assistance has increased by 17% over the last year, and we continue to explore new ways to bring more services and innovative ideas to reach more customers. While our budget request focuses on early childhood education, online and print materials, instruction, and our dedicated team, we recognize this is a fluid time with many unknowns. We also recognize how much our community needs and values us, not only during the pandemic, but also as we recover and beyond. Accordingly, I ask you to fully fund our budget request. Investing in libraries is an investment in our residents and our economic recovery. On behalf of the entire HCLS team, Thank you for all you do and for your continued support of Howard County Library System.
Well, thank you so much, Tonya, for your fantastic leadership and partnership. And please thank the rest of your team for being such a fantastic educational leader, especially in these challenging times.
Thank you, Dr. Ball.
Next up, we have Robert Mentz, followed by Chrissy Murphy. Robert, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Mentz, and I am Chair of the HCLS Board of Trustees. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on behalf of Howard County Library System. I also wish to thank you for this year's funding for the minor renovation of our 21-year-old Glenwood branch. The project, which is underway, incorporates a number of ideas and requests from the community gathered through Dream sessions last year. The renovations include new STEM classrooms for classes on such topics as computer programming, chemistry, and biology, new multi-use classroom and meeting space enabling our instructors to teach more classes for all ages and giving the community more space for public meetings, refreshed children and teen areas with new seating and new children's information desk, new customer service and self-service areas enabling customers to pick up their own holds, new passport office for greater confidentiality, and a renovated vending cafe area in a new central location serving as a snack area and social space for families and friends. The $630,000 project is anticipated to be completed by next summer. Our FY22 capital budget request includes $500,000 for FY22 for planning and design for the new downtown Columbia branch. When Group 4 Architecture updated our 2004 master plan last year, they noted that HCLS had not yet achieved the state requirement of providing 1 square foot of library space for every Howard County resident. That deficit affects our ability to provide service today, which will increase and intensify as the population grows over the next decade. We are pleased to be working with the Howard County Housing Commission and Enterprise Community Development on this project, envisioned as a vital and vibrant residential community hub and anchor for the Meriwether District. The new branch will enable us to expand our curriculum to not only meet current needs, but also emerging trends related to education, business, culture, and the arts for current residents and for the additional 6,200 residents expected to fill the residential units in downtown Columbia at full build-out. Branch services and staff support spaces will bring together inspiration, learning, performance, and meeting space for experience, discovery, connection, participation, and creation in the following areas: children's discovery and education, language and literacy education, workforce development, small business entrepreneur center, arts education. As Eric Kleinenberg wrote in Palaces for the People, the future of democratic societies rests on shared values and shared spaces. As he illustrated through his book, public libraries are places to come together, connect, and engage. That was certainly true before the pandemic, is true in a vital environment now, and will remain true when we return to in-person services. Residents, children, teens, and adults who have been isolated this year will be hungry to come together for face-to-face conversations and experiences and to build community. We ask you to invest in our community by fully funding the Library Board of Trustees budget request for Howard County Library System. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Chrissy Murphy, followed by Lawrence Schuin. Sorry. Chrissy, you're up.
Good evening, Dr. Ball. My name is Chrissy Murphy, and I am a mom to 2 dyslexic children. You just heard from my son, Alex. Both of my sons struggled to get the help that they need here in Howard County, and because of that, my husband and I send them both to private schools to help remediate and assist their dyslexia. I am here tonight to ask you for more reading specialists and reading support teachers. Currently, HCPSS will be providing 30 hours of Wharton Gillingham, also known as structured literacy, training for these teachers. We need funding for more teachers. I'm not sure if you or your children ever struggled with reading, but only about 40% of children learn to read effortlessly or with relative ease. 40 to 50% of children require explicit, systematic, and sequential instruction. 10 to 15% require explicit, systematic, sequential, diagnostic instruction. This means that upwards of 65% of children will need more explicit, systematic, sequential instruction. Orton Gillingham provides teachers with the scientific knowledge of how teachers or children learn to read. It does not rely on looking at pictures to help with a word, guess at a word, or what might make sense. It gives the children the knowledge base to unlock the code to words they don't know. It opens the door to literacy and allows children to read anything they want to read about. As children get into upper grade levels, they will not have pictures in their reading assignments. They will not have the crutch of being able to look at a picture to tell the story to them. According to MCAP scores of 2019, only 55.6% of third grade students are reading at grade level expectations. 44.4% of third grade students are reading below grade level. When broken down further, 12.7% of children in special education are reading at grade level expectations. 87.3% of special education students are reading below grade level. If you were looking to buy a product and the store had 44 to 87% poor rating, would you buy that product? I don't think that you would. So why has this been okay for our kids? Let's do more than check the box. Please consider adding this line item to the budget. Children in Howard County deserve to have a solid foundation in reading, which will unlock their access to all subjects and courses available to them and catapult them into their individual greatness. Current reading methodologies hold children's existing and future progress hostage to their ability to read a word, whereas structured literacy removes the walls and barriers to a whole world of possibilities. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy.
Next up, we have Lawrence Schoen, followed by Hirwe Hadgo. Lawrence, you're up.
Hi, you can hear me okay?
We sure can.
Okay, great, thanks. My name's Larry Schoen, and I'm addressing you tonight as chair of Howard County's Multimodal Transportation Board. Our role is to advise the executive branch, so that's what we're here to do. So I thank you for the opportunity to make our case tonight. Like you, I go to a lot of community meetings. Last night was the meeting of the Transportation Board. I'd also like to thank you and the county for the great staff. It's a pleasure to work with the Office of Transportation staff and for the budgetary support that you've provided for transportation. And the other support, like the Transportation Town Hall, Dr. Ball, that you had just recently, funding the Complete Streets, the rewrite of the roadway design guide, and which is going to be called, I think, the Complete Streets Design Guide. So thank you for all that has been done. Right now, as people have said before, you see a lot of walking and biking. There will be a future after we get out of this cabin fever stage. And so access to all of the great things that you've heard people testify about is going to be important then. The college, the senior centers, the schools, the village centers, the library, which, by the way, I bicycled to do a pickup today. And some of that ride was safe and some of it was not so safe. So that's what we're hoping to improve in the future. You've heard from Horizon and Bicycle Advocates of Howard County a lot of similar themes. So in our formal testimony, which I've submitted in writing, says we need to really look at the capital improvement plan as only a baseline, and we need to increase those resources because the current funding will not really get us to the pedestrian, the Walk Howard, for instance, 10-year goal. We do need to focus on that funding. The state of good repair. We have assets in the county in the way of roads and bridges. We need to fund that state of good repair through road surfacing and traffic control signals, system preservation, not only to keep what we have, but that also allows the resurfacing projects that get us ADA compliance, sidewalk repairs, and bicycle access. We need to prioritize staffing because to get these projects done, and particularly the smaller projects have a higher ratio of staff effort required to the actual dollars spent. It's ironic that those smaller projects sometimes are more complicated in that they have design, rights of way, and stormwater issues. Sometimes that's why you see fund balances that are larger than expected. We need staffing to get those done. Finally, transit. While it is difficult to advocate for transit, people in a bus these days, there are still essential workers who need to get to their jobs by transit. There is a potential economic recovery coming down the line, and that transit-dependent population is going to require that. We need to focus on implementing what's already approved in the Transit Development Plan, connecting to the HCPSS Route 108 campus, the Regional Transit Plan, which has identified 29 and 40 as priority corridors for transit, partnering with Montgomery County to piggyback on their Flash Bus Rapid Transit system, and local connections to Ellicott City and Catonsville. So in summary, we're going in the right direction. We just need to keep going there and redouble our efforts. And frankly, that does mean funding. There is going to be a future after this cabin fever, and we have a choice to make. People are going to want to get places. Is that future going to be only by one mode in a car with congestion, or is it going to be truly multimodal? Options to get places by different ways. We need to preserve what we have, and we need the staff to get it done. So it's our future. Is it going to be a world of vitality with active transportation, multiple choices to get places, and all those wonderful things you've heard about so far tonight, both in our county, in our region. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Larry, and thanks for all that you do.
Next up, we have Hiraway Hadgu, followed by Barry Mehta. Hiraway? Okay, Barry Mehta. Barry, you're up.
Me?
We can hear you now.
Great. So, about the public sewer in the Alibank Drive area on Alibank Street. Alibank is a wonderful, established and older community. We had been trying to get public. Finally, in the 2021 budget, $600,000 was allocated for sewer line study. But there was a catch. The money would be spent in 2023. And there's a good possibility that we might have a catastrophic sewer failure before we actually get public sewer line available. We all know that from the study to actually getting the sewer line can. So we urge that the study be moved up by 1 year in the 2022 capital budget instead of being in the 2023 timeframe. Also, there is some good vacant land that cannot be developed without public sewer. Our county needs more developable land in the metro area like Alibank. Our home prices are soaring high and affordable housing is getting difficult to find. Land shortage. So public sewer on Alibank would also provide help in terms of controlling the sky high land and home prices. So I urge you all to see if the study move forward by 1 year instead of waiting till next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Aaron Shapiro, followed by Anna Rubin. For those of you following on via number, we are on number 20. Aaron, you're up.
Thank you. County Executive Ball, you can hear me?
We sure
Thank
can.
you. I'm the new executive director of Patapsco Heritage Greenway and proud to be a new member of the community and proud of the role our organization has played in the community and the positive contributions we've made to the health and well-being of residents while helping steward the historical, natural, cultural, and recreational resources of Howard County. Thanks to the $60,000 level of support provided by county government in both FY20 and FY21, Patapsco Heritage Greenway, or PHG, as the nonprofit managing entity of the Patapsco Valley Heritage Area, which is one of Maryland's 13 heritage areas and the only one in Howard County, we were able to effectively carry out our mission of preserving, protecting, interpreting, and restoring the environment, history, and culture of the Patapsco River Valley. As you prepare your proposed FY22 budget, we respectfully ask that you include the same $60,000 level of funding for our organization. This amount is in keeping with the commitment we made 3 years ago to maintain our request at this level. The success of Maryland heritage areas depends on support from local governments, which in turn benefit from the Maryland Heritage Areas Authority's program through access to grants, free educational programs, stewardship activities, and heritage tourism. Despite the challenges presented by COVID-19 in the last quarter of FY20 up to the present, we grew our volunteer force during the year, removing trash during stream cleanups, planting additional trees, conducting invasive removal events, and offering virtual environmental education workshops during the pandemic. This time has reminded us of our organizational flexibility and adaptability, which have been hallmarks of PHG as a committed and creative organization since its inception. In FY20, Howard County organizations received over $110,000 in funding through the MHAA capital, non-capital, and mini-grant programs, as well as our sponsorship program. The return on Howard County's investment in the PVHA is high. Last year's funding enabled PHG to increase our impact and reach new audiences. A few highlights include expanding the boundaries of the heritage area in both Howard and Baltimore counties, which has enabled additional partners to participate in state grant programs, as well as our sponsorship opportunities. This has meant that the programs we both provide and support now reach a broader and more diverse audience across the county, from the Korean Way along US 40 to Howard County Conservancy's Mount Pleasant location and beyond. The over $110,000 in funding for partner organizations, as I mentioned, also included $18,000 distributed to Howard County organizations through our state-supported mini-grant and sponsorship programs. We've also created greater awareness of the historical and environmental significance of the heritage area via our annual Patapsco Days, a multi-organizational series of community engagement programs that occurred both in person and virtually in March, and focused on women's history and empowerment. Our upcoming one will be held virtually and focused on the theme of adaptation and change, drawing on new partners in the heritage area. As a result of COVID-19, PHG made substantial modification to its programs and operations, responding deftly to the outdoor recreation demands and needs of partners. We provided sponsorships for events, helped launch a regional recreation council to assess bi-county recreational needs and connect them to economic development opportunities, developed safety protocols in line with state guidance so that we could offer small, socially distanced outdoor events that contributed to improving the valley watershed and promoted safe outdoor recreational activity during the pandemic. Increased engagement with Howard County Spanish-speaking community, including planning and securing funds for our Festival de Rio, which had been scheduled for June 2020, was postponed, but once it's safe to resume such events, the planning efforts will help to contribute to a seamless launch. In addition to some of these successes, we recognize the ongoing importance of promoting heritage tourism and supporting local organizations. During FY21, we launched a comprehensive interpretive planning process that will benefit the community by bringing an increased vitality to our heritage tourism activities, enhancing the visitor experience, and driving interest in local businesses. This is vital in encouraging people to live, work, and play in the county. We're grateful to you for your support, both financially and through your active participation in our programs. We recognize these are challenging times and look forward to continuing to work with you. We promise to always strive to provide Howard County a valuable return on the investment it makes in PHG and to serve the community's needs. Thank you.
Thank you so much and welcome.
Next up, we have Anna Rubin, followed by Tisha Johnson. Anna, you're up.
Thank you very much. I am speaking on behalf of Columbia Jewish Congregation, Indivisible Immigration Action Team, and Howard County Coalition for Immigrant Justice, representing over 8,000 Howard County residents. I'm addressing the budget for the Corrections Department. We are morally opposed to receiving money from ICE to subsidize the Howard County Corrections budget. Even though the monies received from ICE only constitute 0.13% of our budget, the damage of hunting, detaining and deporting immigrants is devastating for many of our Howard County families. It is more than ironic that the profit the county makes in holding these men helps to subsidize a prison system that disproportionately affects Black and people of color on the criminal side of the prison. Because of our agreement with ICE, the detention process often involves ICE picking up immigrant offenders who have just been released from other prisons after completing their sentences. Then ICE re-imprisons them, even though they have already completed their prison time. According to prison officials, the facility in Jessup was never built to house two different populations. As a result, immigrant detainees are subjected to excessive strip searches, which have been documented by the Department of Homeland Security in 2014 and in 2019 as violating DHS guidelines. At this time, with COVID raging through prison populations, it is even more important that our prison populations be reduced whenever possible. I note that the current capital budget for improvements at the county jail have been reduced again this year. Is it right to make money from collaborating with the rogue agencies that has been shown to conduct sweeps of immigrants to fulfill quotas? I would urge the council to carefully reconsider ending the contract as the ethical choice, as well as being in line with other large counties in the state. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Trisha Johnson, followed by Janelle Howard. Trisha, you're up.
My name is Tisha Johnson, and I am with you tonight in support of the Howard County Library System. As you make your decisions for funding for this upcoming year, I would like to remind you of the important roles that our library system plays in the lives of our families, our young people, and ourselves. I am a 28-year resident of Howard County, and when my husband and I arrived in the county, we arrived with small children. The library became the sanctuary for us. As a stay-at-home mother, the library system became the place where I could gather with other mothers, where our children could gather together with other young people so that they could participate in some of the creative programs for our preschoolers. For every stage of our children's growth and development, the library has been a valuable ally. But I'm not only a mother who relies on the library system to help be the co-educator with me as I educate my children. But the library system is also, as a homeowner, a place where I can go and get tools to make sure that my home DIY projects, where sometimes I can't afford to go and get some of the tools and rent them, I can go to my local library and get those things that I need to make sure that I can maintain my home. Another role of our library is, as an educator, the library system has been invaluable in helping to reinforce all of the things that I've taught my students in the classroom. They have their homework help, there are scholarships databases, they have all kinds of programs and services that we can point to as educators to do the 360 support that our children need outside of the classroom. Sometimes our parents do not know how to support what their children are learning in the classroom, but we know that the library system has provided services that can come up alongside of our parents in order to do so. The other part of the roles that the library system has been playing in our community is that of a community engager. I am the founder and the executive director of the Jacaranda Center for Family and Youth Development, and we promote family strengthening and thriving youth development. the library system has been there for us all throughout our work throughout the county. They have come out of the libraries and come into the neighborhoods to work with us, whether it's been in apartment complexes where they have brought their programs into the neighborhoods. They have been a trusted ally. So please remember the library system when you are making your budgets.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jamel Howard, followed by Beth Connor. Jamel, you're up.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Jamel Howard, and I am presenting tonight on behalf of ACS, the Association of Community Services. Good evening, Dr. Ball. I serve on the board of directors, and I am speaking tonight on behalf of our 160 member organizations and community advocates. COVID-19 has impacted the health of all of us greatly, including our economic and emotional well-being. It has highlighted the interdependency of Howard County government and our nonprofit sector. The community has benefited from a strong relationship between our two sectors. Our established track record of collaborative partnership has allowed service providers to quickly pivot to meet the sudden explosion of basic needs. While we sincerely hope that vaccines and therapeutics will speed our recovery from COVID-19 and its impact in 2021, it is certain to leave a plethora of needs that we will have to address with a community-wide effort. Maintaining at least even funding for community service partnership grants is critical to responding to the basic needs of our residents and keeping nonprofits afloat. Additional funding in the form of one-time grants should also be considered to meet the most pressing needs created by this crisis. Our nonprofit sector has repeatedly demonstrated effectively it can leverage county money together with outside grants, donations, and the support of volunteers to address urgent needs. It is important that funding to support organizations and their work be provided. Otherwise, the county risks having to find other entities to maintain services or losing critical services altogether. The county's ability to continue responding to the pandemic is dependent upon maintaining a strong and effective nonprofit sector. As in most emergencies, the current crisis has not been felt equally across our community. Those who were already most vulnerable have been hit the hardest. People of color, women, low-wage workers, people with disabilities, and older adults. We have also witnessed it is often the very people on whom our community is most dependent. We have to recognize this and find ways which address the current needs and ensure that the county budget demonstrates its commitment to addressing these inequities over the long term. One area of importance is housing opportunities. The gap in affordable housing available to low-income families was already estimated to lay somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 units prior to the pandemic. This gap has surely widened considerably as people's lives and livelihoods face increasing insecurity. We urge you to demonstrate your commitment to the creation of affordable housing by including funding to meet the expanding need for these in your 2022 budget. We applaud the creation of the Howard Housing Opportunities Master Plan. It is often said that a budget is a reflection of our values and that money speaks. Creating the Housing Trust Fund will be a tangible proof of the administration's commitment to its recommendations. A variety of funding mechanisms could be explored, but creation of this fund would also demonstrate determination in implementing these carefully considered recommendations. While recognizing the fiscal impact of the current crisis and the uncertainty of developing a budget potentially without state assistance, I urge you to take not only the actions needed to respond to immediate needs, but to set the stage for a robust recovery from it. We need a long-term vision and a plan to get us through this pandemic and set the stage for a more equitable future. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. As always, our nonprofit sector is prepared to work with the county government to support our residents and ensure that this Howard County remains a place where everyone can thrive.
Well, thank you so much for your testimony. Congratulations again on winning your Human Rights Award, and thank you for your continued partnership and advocacy.
Next up, we have Beth Connor, followed by Chiara D'Amore. Beth, you're up.
Hello and good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I am representing the SJCA, which is the St. John's Community Association. I am a board member. My husband and I have raised our 4 children here, living here for over 20 years. If anyone is not aware, Dunlogan is one of the older neighborhoods. We have over 1,000 houses in our neighborhood. And I want to speak a little bit about the situation with our roads in the neighborhood. Like police and schools, roads are a basic function of the county government that should be one of the county's top fiscal priorities, but maintenance of our neighborhood roads is being sorely neglected. The conditions of the roads in our neighborhood of Dunlogan is totally unacceptable in a wealthy county like Howard. The road conditions are not safe for our most vulnerable residents, our children, and our seniors. It is not safe to ride bikes or even walk on such rough roads, and it is uncomfortable to ride on them as well. It also makes a poor first impression on visitors and potential buyers in the neighborhood, which ultimately could affect property values and the tax base. I sent some photos, which I had attached, and shows one block of McAlpine Road. As you can see, the surface is cracked and worn out, and multiple potholes have been filled. We are past the point of needing potholes filled, though. The roads need resurfacing, but our understanding is that there has been little or no money in the budget for road resurfacing. Proper fulfillment of this basic duty of the county should take priority over many of the new, innovative, but not as necessary initiatives the county has funded recently. Please provide adequate funding in next year's budget to maintain the local roads in Dunlogan and throughout the county properly for the sake of for our safety, our property values, and our pride in our neighborhoods and county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Chiara D'Amore, followed by Colleen Morris. Chiara, you're up.
Hi, good evening. My name is Dr. Chiara D'Amore. I live in Columbia, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Community Ecology Institute. CEI is a Howard County-based nonprofit organization with a mission to cultivate communities where people and nature thrive together. CEI's work is uniquely focused on tangible, community-level change at the intersections of environment, education, equity, and health, an approach that is more important than ever in light of what COVID has taught us this year. With support from the county and the community, in 2019, CEI was able to purchase the last working farm in Columbia to protect it from housing development and to transform it into an accessible, experiential education center where people can learn from hands-on experience about how they can lead happier, healthier, more connected, and sustainable lives. Over the past year and a half, CEI has made significant progress in transforming this dormant property into a unique place of common ground for diverse members of the community. Despite the challenges of COVID-19 in 2020, CEI has grown more than 2 tons of food for the community at Freetown Farm. Half was donated to Columbia Community Care and half was sold to the Roving Radish or at our farm stand. CEI has provided a safe place for community engagement for over 400 unique people. We are partnered with the Howard County branch of NAACP, HopeWorks of Howard County, the Indian Origin Network, Volunteens, Equity for HC, 4 area universities, county high schools, and numerous other organizations in engaging the community in unique health and educational opportunities. CEI has implemented a county innovation grant called A Climate of Hope that uses Freetown Farm as a demonstration ground for the county's commitment to the U.S. Climate Alliance's Natural and Working Lands Challenge and teaches community members about how they can have a positive impact on their social and ecological community by transforming lawns into climate victory gardens. And this year, CEI has transformed Freetown Farm into a 6.5-acre outdoor experiential education space in the heart of Columbia that serves as a model for how we can simultaneously provide physical and mental health benefits while also developing knowledge and skills that support personal, family, and community resilience. Currently, CEI operates with 2 part-time staff, a team of 10 high school student interns, and a large number of volunteers. Support from the county will help CEI to hire additional staff needed to maximize Freetown Farm's benefits to the community. An additional priority for 2021 is to complete the renovation of the barn into CEI's office and program space. Currently, there is not any indoor space from which to run the organization or our programs. We're still using porta pots and temporary canopies. This situation significantly limits CEI's ability to grow the community programming that we can offer. The county's continued support will enable CEI to grow into our full potential and to offer an exciting range of unique mission-driven COVID-responsive programs to be brought to diverse county residents. Farm-based community education centers like CEI is creating at Freetown Farm have the power to help transform communities, restoring the environment, bringing people together with a sense of hope and purpose for the future, nurturing health, and building resilience. This work is more important than ever given the challenges and disparities that have been highlighted by the COVID-19 crisis. On behalf of CEI, I respectfully request that the county continues to support our organization in the 2022 budget. CEI's work in the community is in direct alignment with the county's priorities of having thriving and healthy residents and a clean and sustainable environment. We are proud of and grateful for our collaboration with the county to date. Thank you so much for your support, and I wish you the happy holidays.
Thank you so much, Dr. Diamore. And let me just say congratulations on all the work you and everyone has been doing on CEI. It is one of the best stories of success that our community has seen in probably a generation. So let's keep moving forward on that.
Next up, we have Colleen Morris, followed by Brevin Bonnery. Colleen, you're up.
Thank you. Good evening, County Executive Ball and fellow residents. My name is Colleen Morris. I'm a first grade teacher, and I am the president of the Howard County Education Association, HCEA. HCEA is our union of educators and staff in Howard County Public Schools. Teachers and paraprofessionals, counselors and psychologists, nurses and health assistants, central office and food service employees, and many other school and non-school-based employees. With over 6,000 members, we are the largest union in Howard County, working for the county's largest single employer. I want to begin by lifting up the hard work and servant leadership of our county executive during this pandemic. Dr. Ball, your tireless work on behalf of the people in our county has not gone unnoticed or unappreciated. Every day, we see you and your team mobilizing our government to protect everyone in Howard County, and especially those who are at greatest risk of this virus. Most of all, we see you setting a good example for our county by not just talking the talk, but also walking the walk. By wearing a mask, maintaining 6 feet of separation, and following the advice of scientists and healthcare professionals. We thank you immensely for your leadership, and we also want to thank all the thousands of county first responders, healthcare workers, health department staff, and other county workers who are on the front lines fighting this virus and saving lives. At the same time, our county's educators are working tirelessly to support students and families through virtual and small group in-person learning. Educators and school system staff are routinely working 12 to 16 hours per day, developing engaging lessons, delivering meals to families, modifying instruction for individualized services, staying in contact with families, and more. Unlike many other county employees, our school system staff are doing all of this without receiving overtime. The virus has exposed deep racial and socioeconomic inequities in our society. Scholars will spend their entire careers understanding the full impact of the pandemic on our young people, but what we know for certain is that institutional racism has already caused students of color, and especially Black and Brown students in families where English is spoken as a second language, as well as students from families with lower incomes, to fall further behind than others who have access to more resources. As educators, we see that this pandemic has made dire what has already been needed in our school system for decades: smaller class sizes, more school counselors, psychologists, related service providers, and paraprofessionals, wraparound services for families, meals for working families, resource and support teachers, and special educators. We have faced a deficit of these resources for decades, and unfortunately, our undercommitment has turned into a full-blown crisis for our county's most vulnerable families. Looking ahead, after we defeat this virus, educators will have the Herculean task of welcoming students and families back to school, assessing their social, emotional, and academic needs, providing them with needed supports, and beginning recovery of learning. Dr. Ball, you have the opportunity to be a transformational leader in this moment in our country's history by ensuring that all of our families have access to the resources they need through our schools. That begins by ensuring we have the staffing to reduce class sizes to a level where educators can provide the individualized support that will be needed. Unfortunately, we haven't even caught up since the last recession. Since 2009, class sizes have increased, not decreased, and county pupil has steadily declined after accounting for inflation. Educators have sacrificed too. Just last year, educators went without a $12 million cost of living adjustment, and our schools went without over 200 additional special educators that we requested, as well as hundreds of school counselors and related service providers. On behalf of our over 6,000 members, we want our communities to know one thing. Educators have been preparing all their lives for the challenges that lie ahead. We are ready, and we need our county government to enable us to meet those challenges. In a time where we need to prioritize, we know that you will do the right thing. Prioritize education in your fiscal year 2022 operating budget. And we'd also like to thank the Oakland Mills Board and CCAC and some other testimony tonight for highlighting the needs that our school system has as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony, and let me just say publicly, on behalf of all the residents of Howard County, thank you to all of the educators who have been trying to make it a safe and nurturing learning environment for all of our children during these difficult times in this new virtual world. I know it has been extremely stressful, but all of you educators have been working so hard, and we all appreciate you.
Next up, we have Brevin Bonnery, followed by Heather Kelso. Brevin, you're
Hi,
up.
thank you. Just wanted to thank all the county employees and the county officials for keeping the county served and safe during this pandemic. And I wanted to give a special shout out to Safa Hira for, for encouraging a new generation of people to get into public service by her, by her dedication, by her work ethics, by her knowledge, and just by her disarming smile. So thank you, Safa. Now let's get to the more serious stuff. Good evening. My name is Praveen Panuri, and I'm a resident of Ellicott City. I'm here today to testify on behalf of Indian Origin Network of Howard County, aka INHOCO. Over the summer, we partnered and worked very closely with the Community Ecology Institute, aka CEI, to grow holy basil at the last operating farm in Colombia. This was our first experience growing anything, and the CEI provided us the land free of cost and mentored us throughout the season. INHOCO had over 60 volunteers work at the farm at different times and for varying periods of times. Each volunteer had an opportunity to experience farming firsthand, and the consensus was that this experience helped them reduce the mental stress, increase their mental health, and gave them an opportunity to spend some quality time with their families during this pandemic. Inspired by this experience, INHOCO is working with CEI to help Howard County grow 1 million pounds of food in the Howard County backyards. That's 1 million pounds of food in our own backyards. And we believe that this will assist in the mental health of the residents during the pandemic, and will also help promote a healthy living by promoting eating healthy, by eating homegrown organic produce. INHOCO and CEI plan to accomplish this by providing over 100,000 seedlings to the community free of cost, and by offering gardening and farming classes in association with University of Maryland. INHOCO also plans to help the residents build raised beds and whatever is needed to start the farming in their backyards, to produce in the backyards, in an effort to promote back to the basics concept. This initiative will also set a pathway for the farming enthusiasts towards weekend farming, an effort to commercially grow produce locally and provide fresh and organic produce to the Howard County residents as a viable alternative. INHOCO would like to request the county to continue funding CEI even during this fiscally challenging times, since every dollar spent on Community Ecology Institute will come back to the county many times over in terms of increased mental health, increased physical health, and a much cleaner environment and a much healthier living lifestyle. Thanks for listening and have a great day.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you for all that Ion HOCO is doing. And thank you for your testimony actually advocating for another entity such as CEI, which is doing good work.
Thank you. Next up, we have Heather Kelso, followed by Jackie Eng. Heather, you're up.
Good evening, Dr. Ball and those attending. Thank you to you and your staff for making this forum happen. My name is Heather Kelso. Because of grassroots parent advocacy, the Ready to Read Act will be implemented during this school year, requiring screening all kindergartners and first graders who were not screened last year or who did not master kindergarten standards. Screening is a quick, efficient, and affordable temperature taker. It is the early and essential step in a reading instruction plan. Screeners can target the next step in diagnostic assessment. Screening also helps to monitor whether the instruction that is provided is effective by seeing whether children are able to meet the criterion reference targets individually across a classroom, a grade, a district, and the district as a whole. All students should be screened 3 times per year. Dibbles, the screening tool purchased by HCPSS, costs $1 per student per year. There is no additional cost to screening children more than once per year. We believe that screening should be expanded to include pre-K to at least elementary school so that struggling readers are not missed. HCPSS has approximately 25,500 students in pre-K through 5th grade. Thus, it would cost $25,500 to screen all elementary students 3 times per year. HCPSS is already funding screening kindergarten and at least some first grade students, estimated a cost of $6,500 to meet the legal mandate. Accordingly, the incremental cost to screen all children in all grades in elementary school is approximately $19,000. Right now, Howard County has trained reading specialists, special educators, and central office staff to conduct screening. Because this number of educators who have training is limited, the screening window is approximately a month long. Students identified as being at risk do not begin to receive supplemental instruction until January, almost halfway through the school year. The educators who have already been trained could train others to conduct the screening at no additional cost. If additional training is needed, Dibbles charges $7 per teacher for training of at least 25 teachers. We asked for the budget to be increased by $25,000 so that all children in elementary schools can be screened. This estimate would include the additional testing materials and training for at least 2 general educators per elementary school who could assist in training other educators. This relatively small amount of money could possibly be used to ensure that struggling readers do not leave elementary school without being identified. Results from a longitudinal study of nearly 4,000 students by the Ann H. Casey Foundation in 2011 found that those who do not read proficiently by 3rd grade are 4 times more likely in school without a diploma than proficient readers. For the worst readers, those who could not master even the basic skills by 3rd grade, the rate is nearly 6 times greater. While these struggling readers account for all of their students, they represent more than 3/5 of those eventually drop out or fail to graduate. To improve reading outcomes, the first step is to screen students using a valid and reliable way to determine which students are struggling and why. Accordingly, we asked this budget include $25,000 in operating funds to expand screening to cover all.
Ms. Kelso, please wrap up your thoughts. Your time has ended.
Yes, I have 4 more words. Thank you. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
All of the students for the academic year 2021-2022. Thank you so much. My apologies.
Thank you.
For any of it.
It's all good.
Next up, we have Jackie Eng, followed by Scott Ewart. Jackie, you're up.
Good evening. It's my privilege to offer testimony on behalf of the Housing Affordability Coalition steering member individuals and organizations. Sorry about the echo. Okay. We'll be submitting additional comments, but tonight the coalition asks your consideration, Dr. Ball, of a new general revenue stream for a local rental assistance program to enhance housing stability for the highest need county households and to support residents in time of natural and economic disasters. Current examples of who would benefit from such a program are residents who have lost their jobs or wages due to the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the almost 800 individuals currently waitlisted for the Housing Commission's Housing Choice Vouchers. We estimate that a continuing general fund investment of $1.5 million would make a significant and much needed contribution to getting households into housing they can afford and bolstering the county's safety net that even before the Ellicott City floods and the COVID pandemic already was at capacity. We would emphasize that this coalition request is for a new funding stream over and above current MIHU fee in lieu and transfer tax county revenue streams to support the Department of Housing and Community Development and its initiatives. We appreciate, Dr. Ball, that over the next few months you have a significant challenge in balancing the breadth of community capital and operations needs facing the county. We earnestly suggest, however, that it is today's economic pressures that support making bold investments to help stabilize and support our community's economically vulnerable families and individuals, including our workers and our students. We look forward to further discussing this coalition request with you and your staff as you develop your FY22 budget proposal. Thank you so much, and good evening.
Thank you so much, Jackie. I appreciate all the work that you and the Housing Affordability Coalition has been doing.
Next up, we have Scott Ewert, followed by Brent Lovelace. Scott, you're up. No? Okay. Looks like we have Brent Lovelace. Brent, you're up.
Good evening. My name is Brent Lovelace. I'm the current president of the PTA Council of Howard County. Also a frequent individual speaker at many of these events. In the current Spending Affordability Committee meeting just held last week, we were notified that if our current spending ratios on physical infrastructure continue at their present rate, we will be $26 million short. And quite honestly, that's for our 3 capital projects underway, which only provide us half the amount of seats that we need for projected enrollment, even with the decrease in enrollment based on COVID responses. At the moment, the PTA does not have a seat at the table for the spending affordability plan, the general plan, racial equity task force, and we are at a severe disadvantage and underrepresented in the housing opportunities task force. There are many great ideas that are going to come out of that, but we do have concerns about items that are in a direct conflict with education for funding, as well as affect concentrations of poverty and our mitigation standards that we currently have in the county. In regards to redistricting, I personally am on a committee that's reviewing that right now, and there will be a need to do redistricting as the new capital projects come up. We don't build schools without populating them. But when we do, we're going to face another very sensitive thing for our community, and we are still doing it in a very manual process. I am working with the state right now. Our organization is working with the state to potentially get some resources to help us with a more analytical approach to this. But likewise, I would appreciate the support of the county, either financially or just through advocacy, to help us in that process, because we need to have the most efficient use of our school systems, as well as ensuring none of our children are in overcrowded schools across the system. Right now, we have a problem with our mitigation fees. If you look at the courthouse, a lot of the financial assumptions that were done during the creation of the PPP program there assumed that the deferred maintenance payments were going to be paid 100% throughout its lifespan, and those were used in the comparisons to move ahead with the financing. However, if you look at the school system, we do not create our fee structure, our mitigation structure, under the same guidelines. Our fees are generated and calculated as if we were continuing to have $500 million of deferred maintenance on the books, as well as delivering half the number of school seats as enrollment grows. As the general plan progresses, it's going to be more and more important that those fees are structured appropriately to deliver the correct results so that we don't fall further and further behind in debt and our bond obligations, which are at the limits of the AAA bond rating. As we speak, the OBRC committee is also meeting. We do have a very active role in that, and they are looking into the operating budget as it goes forward. Less of my ballywick of commenting about physical infrastructure, but still equally important. As you know, the school class sizes increased, and regardless of the per pupil spending, which will remain the same because of the MOE requirements, as our enrollment decreases and per pupil spending remains the same, that seems like it's a nominal impact. However, there is lagging indicators for those, and most importantly, just because we pay the maintenance of effort doesn't mean that is the appropriate amount per student as we go forward. And we do need to look at that as we go forward to make sure it's in line and that our revenue mechanisms align with that, so we do not have a decrease in the quality of schools as they go forward. I could go on for hours on many issues. I will spare you that. I appreciate your ear. I welcome you to join us at the PTA Council and talk with us at any time about these crucial issues, especially as we go forward with the budget cycle. And I don't envy your task, but we will try to offer you positive solutions to work with you to have a better education system for the whole county. Thank you and good night.
Thank you so much, Brent, and thank you to the PTA Council for all of the work that you've been doing, being the voice of so many parents and educators around our county.
Thank you, and that concludes our list.
All right, have a good evening, everybody, and stay safe out there.